The rain poured from the black sky like a never-ending river. Jason ran through the broken streets, his boots splashing in dirty puddles. The tall buildings around him were half destroyed, their windows shattered and walls covered in strange vines. The city had fallen long ago, but tonight it felt even more dangerous. Behind him, loud footsteps echoed. The hunters were close. Jason's heart pounded in his chest like a drum. He didn't dare look back. If they caught him, it would be over. The cold air burned in his lungs as he pushed himself harder, turning sharply into a narrow alley. Trash and broken machines lined the sides. Somewhere far away, a siren wailed, a lonely sound in the dead city. Jason knew he couldn't keep running forever. He needed to hide, fast. At the end of the alley, he saw it, a rusted metal grate half buried under rubble. It covered a tunnel leading underground, a sewer entrance. Without thinking, Jason dropped to his knees and yanked at the grate. It screeched loudly as it moved, the sound making him wince. Every second counted. He squeezed through the opening and dropped into darkness. The ground was wet and cold. The smell of damp metal and old decay filled the air. Jason landed hard but didn't stop. He rolled to his feet and ran deeper into the tunnel. Above him, he heard voices shouting. They were searching for him. The sewer tunnels twisted and turned like a giant maze. Jason didn't know where he was going. He only knew one thing. He had to stay alive. His footsteps splashed quietly now, the sound swallowed by the thick silence. After a while, the shouting above faded. The hunters had lost his trail. For the first time in hours, Jason allowed himself to slow down. He leaned against the damp wall, breathing heavily. His clothes were soaked. His hands were scraped and bleeding. But he was alive. The tunnels stretched into endless darkness. Water dripped from above, echoing around him. The world above, the ruins, the hunters, the endless fear, felt like another planet now. Jason pulled a small flashlight from his pocket and clicked it on. A thin beam of light cut through the darkness, revealing rusted pipes, cracked walls, and thick puddles. Rats scurried away from the light, their tiny feet making soft splashes. "I just need a place to rest," Jason whispered to himself. He moved carefully, picking his way through the debris. Every few meters he checked behind him, making sure he was truly alone. But as he moved deeper, he started to feel something strange. The air grew warmer, softer, almost humming with invisible energy. Jason's skin tingled. He frowned and tightened his grip on the flashlight. That's when he saw it, a soft blue glow coming from a side passage up ahead. Jason froze. His instincts screamed at him to stay away, to find another tunnel. But another part of him, the part that had survived the streets for so long, told him to check it out. Maybe it was a generator, a forgotten shelter, maybe even supplies, or maybe something worse. Jason hesitated, heart pounding, heart. Then he made his choice. Step by step, he moved toward the light. The passage grew narrower, the walls closer together. The glowing light became stronger, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. It wasn't the harsh light of human machines. It was softer, alive somehow. Jason turned a final corner and stopped dead in his tracks. In front of him was a large open chamber, once part of the old sewer system. The walls were covered with strange vines that glowed softly in shades of blue and violet. Pools of clean water reflected the glowing plants, making the whole place look like something from a dream. But it wasn't the plants that made Jason's breath catch in his throat. Standing near the center of the chamber were three figures. They were tall, slim, and impossibly graceful. Their skin shimmered in the blue light, one with soft silver tones, one with deep blue patterns across her arms, and one with a faint golden glow around her. Their hair floated gently, as if moved by an unseen breeze. Their eyes were bright and deep, like looking into faraway stars. Jason took an unconscious step back, his flashlight dropping to the ground with a soft clatter. The three figures turned at the sound, their eyes locking onto him. For a long moment, no one moved. Jason's mind raced. Were they hunters? New enemies? Some strange new danger hiding in the sewers or something else entirely? The tallest of the three tilted her head slightly, studying him with a curious expression. Jason's mouth went dry. He opened it to speak, but no words came out. He had come into the sewers running from death. Instead, he had stumbled into a hidden world he could not even begin to understand. Jason stood frozen at the entrance of the glowing chamber. His heart pounded loudly in his ears, drowning out the soft sounds of water dripping and vines humming. The three alien girls stared at him, not with anger, not with fear, but with a strange, cautious curiosity. For a moment, it felt like time itself had stopped. Jason's mind raced. He had heard stories about strange beings living underground, whispers traded on dark streets, but he had never believed them. Until now. Slowly, the tallest alien stepped forward. She moved with a grace Jason had never seen before. Her silver-toned skin shimmered with every movement, and her hair, a soft cascade of blue strands, floated as if carried by invisible winds. Her eyes, deep violet and endless, locked onto his. Jason instinctively raised his hands, palms open, showing he had no weapon. I'm not here to hurt you, he stammered, his voice barely a whisper. The three girls exchanged quick glances, silent words passing between them without speaking. The smallest one, with golden light around her body, tilted her head and took a cautious step closer. She was beautiful in a way that made Jason forget the danger for a moment, her smile soft, almost sad. The third girl, with deep blue patterns swirling across her arms and shoulders, narrowed her glowing eyes slightly, studying him like a scientist, examining something fragile. Jason stood perfectly still, barely daring to breathe. Finally, the silver-skinned girl spoke. Her voice was musical, like the first note of a song carried by the wind. "Human," she said, her accent strange but clear. "Why have you come here?" Jason swallowed hard. His throat was dry as dust. I was running," he said honestly. "I had nowhere else to go." The golden glowing girl glanced at her companions again, then took another step forward, her bare feet silent on the wet floor. "You were hunted," she said, her voice softer, kinder. Jason nodded. "Yes," from the surface. The blue-patterned girl crossed her arms, studying him more carefully now. Her expression was still guarded, but there was less suspicion in her eyes. Maybe she too knew what it was like to run. The silver-skinned leader moved a little closer. Jason could now see the faint scars on her arms, hidden beneath the shimmering glow. They had survived something terrible, just like him. "You are not the first," she said quietly, "but you may be the first who does not fear us." Jason forced a weak smile. "To be honest, I'm terrified, but you're not the ones chasing me." A soft, musical laugh escaped the golden girl's lips. It was a small sound, but it broke the heavy tension like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. The blue-skinned girl spoke for the first time. "Name?" she demanded, her tone short. "Jason," he answered immediately. The leader nodded slowly. "I am Lyra," she said, placing a hand gently on her chest. "This is Celine," she gestured to the golden one, "and that is Vera," nodding toward the blue-patterned girl. Jason tried to memorize their names quickly, though his mind was still spinning. Lyra, Celine, Vera, they were like no one, no thing he had ever seen. Lyra took another step closer, now only a few feet away. Jason could see her face clearly. Beautiful, but tired, like someone who had fought too many battles for too long. "You cannot stay here," Vera said sharply. Her voice was cold, but Jason caught the trembling edge beneath it. Fear, not hatred. Jason raised his hands again. "I just need a place to rest," he said. "Just for a little while. I won't cause trouble." The three girls hesitated, speaking to each other in a language Jason couldn't understand. Soft, fast, musical. He waited, heart hammering, ready to be thrown out, or worse. Finally, Lyra turned back to him. "You may stay," she said, her voice like a soft command. For tonight. Jason let out a long, shaky breath of relief. But, Celine added quickly, her soft glow pulsing gently, you must not wander, and you must not tell others. Jason nodded eagerly. I swear. Vera gave him a hard look, but said nothing more. Lyra gestured for him to follow. Carefully, Jason stepped into the chamber, feeling the warm glow of the vines wrap around him like a strange, living blanket. It felt almost welcoming, almost safe. As he walked behind them deeper into their hidden world, Jason realized something important. These girls were not just survivors, they were hiding something bigger, something powerful, something the hunters would kill to find. And somehow, Jason had just stumbled into the center of it. Jason followed the three alien girls deeper into the glowing tunnels. His boots splashed quietly in the shallow water, but the girls moved with silent grace, their feet barely touching the ground. It felt like walking into another world, a hidden place that didn't belong to the broken city above. The soft light from the vines painted the walls with strange patterns, like living stars. The air smelled cleaner here, filled with the faint scent of unknown flowers. Jason's fear slowly faded, replaced by growing curiosity. Finally, they entered a large, hidden chamber. It was beautiful. In the center stood a small shelter made of scavenged metal and soft fabrics. Strange machines, glowing with soft colors, buzzed quietly around it. On the far wall, a waterfall of pure, sparkling water flowed down smooth stone into a crystal-clear pool. Jason could only stare in amazement. How could something so pure exist under the ruined city? Lyra, the silver-skinned leader, turned to him. You are wondering, she said simply. Jason nodded. Yeah, this place, it's like magic. Celine, the golden glowing girl, gave a soft laugh. Not magic, she said, only survival. Vera, the blue-patterned one, stood a little apart, arms crossed, still watching Jason with careful eyes. Jason took a step closer, looking around in wonder. You built all this? Lyra nodded. Piece by piece, from the wreckage of our ship, and from the city above. Jason froze. Ship? He turned back to Lyra, heart racing. You're not just hiding. You're stranded here? Lyra exchanged a long glance with Celine and Vera. Then she sighed, a sound full of old sadness. We are not from your world, Lyra said quietly. We come from a place far beyond your stars. Jason felt the ground tilt under him. He had known, somehow, that they weren't normal, but hearing it confirmed was something else. Aliens. Real aliens. And, Celine added softly, we cannot leave. Jason swallowed hard. What happened? For a moment, none of them spoke. Then, Vera, the sharp-eyed one, stepped forward. Her voice was firm but heavy. We were royalty once, she said. Daughters of a house that ruled across worlds. Jason's eyes widened. Royalty? But enemies attacked our home, Lyra continued. We were forced to flee. Our ship, it was damaged during the escape. We crashed here. Celine's light dimmed slightly as she spoke. We sent a signal for rescue, but no answer came. Jason felt a lump grow in his throat. How long had they been hiding down here? Alone? Forgotten? Lyra's eyes softened as she looked at him. We waited, she said. At first, we thought your people might help. But when they found us, they only hunted us. Jason clenched his fists. He thought of the hunters chasing him earlier. He thought of how quick humans could be to fear what they didn't understand. I'm sorry, he said quietly. Celine smiled sadly. You are not like them. Jason stepped closer, feeling a strange protectiveness growing inside him. I won't tell anyone, he promised. I'll help you, however I can. Vera studied him for a long moment. You would risk your life for us? She asked, voice sharp. Jason didn't hesitate. I would, he said simply. For a heartbeat, the only sound was the soft trickle of water. Then Lyra stepped forward and gently placed her hand on his shoulder. "You have already risked it," she said. "By finding us, you're now part of our secret." Jason's heart pounded, not with fear but with a strange excitement. He didn't know what this new path meant. He didn't know what dangers would come. But somehow, standing here in the glowing dark with these three beautiful, brave beings, he knew one thing for sure. He was exactly where he was meant to be. In the hidden world beneath the broken city, a new alliance had been born. And above them, somewhere in the black sky, unseen enemies still searched. But for now, they had each other, and together they would face whatever was coming. The hidden chamber felt safer than the city above. But Jason knew safety here was only an illusion. Real trust, the kind that could survive fear, betrayal, and danger, would have to be earned. He sat cross-legged on the cool stone floor near the glowing pool. Across from him, Lyra, Selene, and Vera worked silently, repairing a strange-looking device made from broken parts of alien technology and human scrap. They barely spoke to him. Jason understood. They had survived too much to trust so easily. He watched as Selene carefully placed a crystal shard into the machine. It pulsed softly, casting a warm light on her golden skin. Lyra adjusted the metallic framework with steady hands. Vera checked the perimeter, her sharp eyes scanning every shadow. Jason knew he had to prove himself, not with words, but with actions. Quietly, he stood and walked to the pile of scavenged parts they had collected. Without asking, he began sorting them. Clean metals on one side, broken wires on another, power cells together. His movements were slow, respectful. He didn't want to break anything or intrude. At first, the girls said nothing, but after a few minutes, Jason noticed Selene glancing at him. Her expression was softer now, less guarded. Lyra spoke first. "You know machines?" she asked, her voice calm but curious. Jason gave a small shrug. "A little. I used to fix old robots, back when the city still worked." Lyra nodded slightly and returned to her work. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Later, as darkness deepened outside, Selena prepared a simple meal, a mixture of alien fruits and scavenged human rations. Jason sat a little apart, not wanting to intrude. His stomach growled painfully, but he stayed silent. After a long pause, Vera walked over and dropped a small packet of food beside him without saying a word. Jason looked up, surprised. She didn't smile. She didn't explain. But in her sharp, quiet way, she was offering him something very important: acceptance. Jason picked up the food and gave her a grateful nod. Vera just turned and walked away. He smiled to himself. Trust was a slow river, but it was flowing now. Hours passed. The chamber grew colder. Jason offered to help reinforce the shelter walls using old metal sheets he had found. At first, Vera and Lyra simply watched. But when Jason lifted heavy pieces without complaint, hammered broken parts together, and patched leaks with rough cloth and sealant, something changed. Selene walked over and handed him a real tool, a glowing alien spanner. Without a word, Jason took it carefully, feeling a strange sense of honor. They were beginning to see him not as a burden, but as one of them. That night, as they gathered around a small energy lamp, Lyra finally spoke. "You were chased by hunters," she said quietly. "Why?" Jason hesitated. Should he tell them everything? Would they still trust him if they knew? He decided to risk it. "I stole food," he admitted, "from one of the supply convoys. They were hoarding it, letting people starve. I couldn't just watch." Selene's golden glow pulsed a little brighter. She looked at him with something close to admiration. Lyra exchanged a glance with Vera, who gave a small, almost invisible nod. "You risked your life for others," Lyra said. "That is rare." Jason shrugged. It was the right thing to do. For the first time, Lyra smiled. Not a sad smile, not a tired smile, but a real small, honest smile. "You may stay," she said, "not just for tonight, as long as you wish." Jason felt warmth spread through him, Not from the energy lamp, but from something deeper. Belonging. He had come into the sewers with nothing. No hope. No plan. Now, sitting among these powerful, beautiful survivors, Jason realized he had found something more valuable than safety. He had found a new beginning. Far above, in the broken city, the hunters still searched. They had no idea that, deep below their feet, a human and 3 alien princesses were building something stronger than fear. Trust. And trust, once earned in darkness, could light a fire that no army could ever extinguish. The sewers had become a fragile home. In the glowing chambers, Jason and the alien girls lived quietly, day by day, building trust, sharing stories, and fixing small parts of their broken world. But peace in a broken city never lasted long. One night, when the air was thick and heavy with the coming of a storm, Jason heard it first, a faint metallic clank in the distant tunnels. He froze, ears straining. Another sound followed, a low humming, too sharp, too deliberate to be from rats or falling rubble. Jason quickly turned to Lyra, Celine, and Vera, who were sitting by the glowing pool, quietly discussing their next scavenging trip. "Someone's here," Jason whispered urgently. Instantly, the girls tensed. Lyra's hand moved to a small device hidden under her cloak. Vera's sharp eyes narrowed, scanning the darkness. Celine's glow dimmed, blending her into the shadows. Jason moved silently toward the tunnel entrance, his heart pounding. He knelt low, pressing his ear to the damp floor. More footsteps. Many footsteps. And something worse. A sharp, high-pitched. On scanners, they were using machines to search. Jason turned back, face grim. "They're here," he said. "Hunters." The girls reacted fast, like a unit trained by hardship. Lyra snapped open a hidden panel in the wall, revealing a narrow escape tunnel. "Go," she ordered. Jason hesitated. "What about the equipment? Your supplies?" Vyra shook her head. "Forget them. Survival first." Celine grabbed Jason's arm. "We cannot be caught." Jason understood. If the hunters found them, it wouldn't just be prison, it would be death, or worse. Together, they slipped into the narrow tunnel. Jason had to crouch low, the walls pressing close around him. The girls moved ahead with eerie silence, their bodies built for agility in a way Jason could only admire. Behind them, the heavy boots of the hunters grew louder, echoing through the sewer's endless maze. Jason risked a glance back. Too late. Beam of white light swept the main chamber, catching the edges of the shelter they had left behind. Shouts rang out. "They're here, track them!" The chase had begun. Jason and the girls moved fast through the twisting tunnels. Water splashed underfoot. Alarms blared behind them, sharp, urgent sounds that cut through the darkness. Jason's muscles burned from running, but he pushed himself harder. This wasn't just about him anymore. It was about protecting them, Lyra, Celine, and Vera, the only family he had left. Ahead, the tunnel split into 3 paths. Lyra stopped, thinking quickly. "This way," she said, pointing left. But Vera frowned. "It's a trap," she warned. "They'll expect us to run toward the river." Jason listened carefully. He heard something, a faint whirring, down the left tunnel. Drones. "They're blocking that path," Jason said. "We need another way." Celine pointed right. "The old maintenance shaft," she said. "It's dangerous, but they won't expect it." Lyra nodded sharply. No time for debate. They turned right, disappearing, into the darkness. The maintenance shaft was worse than Jason imagined. The ground was uneven, the air thick with mold. Broken pipes jutted from the walls like skeletal arms. In some places, the floor had collapsed into black pits of water. Jason stumbled, but Celine caught his hand, steadying him. The bond between them, once fragile, now burned strong. Behind them, the hunters grew closer. Jason could hear the low buzz of hover drones searching the tunnels, sweeping beams of light across walls and water. "They're gaining," Vera hissed. Lyra pressed a hand against the side of the tunnel, feeling for vibrations. "We need to slow them down," she said. Jason thought fast. "We can flood the lower tunnels," he suggested. If we break those old water pipes. Lyra's eyes gleamed with approval. Do it. Without hesitation, Jason swung a heavy metal rod into one of the cracked pipes. With a groan and a sharp snap, the pipe burst open, sending a violent rush of water down the passage behind them. Screams echoed from the hunters caught in the sudden flood. Jason grinned despite himself. That'll buy us time. They ran again, climbing higher into the forgotten parts of the sewer, places even the hunters didn't know. Finally, after what felt like hours, they found a hidden alcove behind a collapsed wall. Breathing hard, soaked, and exhausted, they collapsed onto the cold floor. For a long time, no one spoke. The only sounds were the distant, fading shouts of hunters retreating and the soft drip, drip, drip of water from the broken ceiling. Jason looked at the girls. Their faces pale but determined. They had survived another attack. Together, he realized something deep in his heart. This wasn't just about hiding anymore. It was about fighting for a future where they didn't have to run, a future where they could be free. Jason met Lyra's gaze. We can't stay in the shadows forever, he said. Lyra's silver eyes shimmered in the faint glow. No, she agreed. We can't. And deep beneath the broken world, in the dark veins of the forgotten city, a silent vow was made. They would not hide forever. The hunters had come too close. Next time, they would be ready. The air inside the hidden alcove was heavy with silence. Jason sat on the cold stone floor, watching drops of water slide down the cracked wall. Lyra, Celine, and Vera crouched nearby, their faces lit only by the dim blue glow of the living vines. No one spoke. They had survived, barely, but everyone knew. They couldn't keep running forever. Finally, Lyra broke the silence. We need to leave this city. Jason nodded slowly. But how? The surface is crawling with hunters. We can't fight them head on. Vera leaned forward, her voice low and sharp. We don't need to fight all of them. Just enough to create an opening. Celine's golden glow flickered with hope. A distraction, she whispered. Jason rubbed his chin, thinking fast. He had lived in these streets long enough to know every secret alley, every forgotten tunnel. He had scavenged, fought, survived. But now, he had to plan something bigger. Something daring. Something dangerous. He looked at the three alien girls, their eyes burning with quiet strength. For them, he would risk everything. They huddled close together, whispering their plan. Step 1. Attack the communication tower. The hunters used it to coordinate their patrols. Without it, their search would fall into chaos. Step 2. Sabotage the power lines. Most of the city's scanners and drones fed off one broken ancient grid. Shut it down, and the hunters would be blind. Step 3. Use the chaos to slip out of the city. Simple, deadly, possible. Lyra reached into the folds of her cloak and pulled out a small sphere. Alien tech Jason had never seen before. This will disable the tower, she said, but only for a short time. Celine pulled out a handful of crystal shards. Energy disruptors, she explained softly. We can place them on the power hubs. Vera tightened the straps of her makeshift armor. I'll cover the exits. Jason felt a surge of pride. They weren't just survivors, they were warriors, and he was proud to stand with them. The next night, under the cover of a blood-red moon, they moved. The city above was a skeleton of ruins. Whispering in the wind, broken neon signs flickered. Collapsed towers loomed like dead giants. Jason led the way through forgotten back alleys and sewer grates, moving like a shadow. Lyra moved behind him, fast and silent. Celine glided along walls, planting disruptors. Vera guarded the rear, eyes sharp, weapons ready. They reached the base of the communication tower, a rusted metal skeleton rising high into the sky. Hunters patrolled around it, their visors glowing red in the darkness. Jason crouched behind, a crumbling wall, heart hammering. "Now or never," he whispered. Lyra gave a short nod. She tossed the small alien sphere toward the tower's control base. The sphere hit the ground and exploded in a pulse of blue light. Immediately, the tower's lights flickered and died. The hunters shouted in confusion, their radios bursting into static. Celine moved like a ghost, setting the disruptors on the exposed power cables. Sparks flew. The city's scanners went dark, blind, deaf. The hunters stumbled around, disorganized. Jason signaled, "Go!" They ran, through ruined streets, across broken bridges over rusted fences. Freedom was close. Jason could feel it, taste it, just beyond the city's crumbling walls. But fate wasn't finished testing them yet. A small patrol spotted them, a sharp shout, blazing lights. Gunfire echoed across the ruins. Jason ducked behind a wall, pulling Celine to safety. Lyra fired a stun blast from a hidden device, knocking a hunter out cold. Vera used a shard to overload a drone, sending it crashing into a rusted car. They fought not with strength, but with speed, with wit, with desperation born from hope. Finally, after what felt like endless running, they reached the edge of the city, a broken highway that stretched into the misty wastelands beyond. Freedom. Real freedom. Jason turned to see the girls, their faces lit by the soft glow of the dying city. They were battered, tired, bruised, but alive. Together. He smiled, feeling something deep inside him shift and settle. For the first time in his life, he wasn't just running from something. He was running toward something. A future. With them. Behind them, the city's towers burned, faintly against the dark sky. Ahead lay unknown lands, new dangers, and a new hope. But Jason knew this. Whatever came next, they would face it together. Because family isn't always about blood. Sometimes it's about the people who choose to fight beside you, even in the darkest places. And they had chosen each other, against all odds, against the whole broken world. The wind howled over the empty wastelands, carrying with it the broken sense of the fallen city behind them. Jason, Lyra, Celine, and Vera stood together on the cracked highway, staring into the unknown. For the first time in what felt like forever, the world was wide open. No more walls, no more hunters, no more hiding. The wastelands ahead were harsh and wild. Old ruins, endless fields of dust, and the silent remains of forgotten towns. Danger was everywhere. But Jason felt no fear. Not now. Beside him stood three beings who had survived more than most could imagine. Lyra, the silver leader, steady and wise. Celine, the golden light, full of kindness and quiet strength. Vera, the sharp warrior, fierce and unbreakable. And Jason, once just a street survivor, had become part of something bigger. A team. A family. They walked for hours under the pale light of the shattered moon. No one spoke much. Words weren't needed. Every step away from the city was a step toward freedom. As dawn broke, painting the sky in soft colors, they found a hill covered with strange, glowing plants. Jason dropped to the ground, exhausted but smiling. The girls settled around him, their bodies relaxed for the first time in days. Lyra looked out across the wasteland, her silver eyes bright. "We are no longer hunted," she said softly. Celine leaned against a broken pillar, her golden glow pulsing like a heartbeat. "We are free," she whispered, almost not believing it. Vera simply nodded, but her smile, rare and real, said everything. Jason looked at them, feeling a strange warmth in his chest. He remembered the day he had fallen into the sewers, broken and afraid. He remembered thinking he had nothing left to lose. And now, he had everything. As the sun rose higher, Jason stood up and brushed dust from his pants. He turned to the girls, a grin tugging at the corner of his mouth. "So," he said, voice light but strong, "where do we go now?" Lyra smiled, a real bright smile that made her whole face shine. Wherever we want, she said. Jason laughed, a deep, free sound that echoed across the empty land. For the first time, in his life, the future wasn't a dark tunnel with no end. It was wide. It was open. It was theirs. They spent the day exploring the ruins of an old farming town. Jason found supplies, old canned food, a working water purifier, a battered but usable solar panel. The girls found materials to build shelter, seeds, hidden in underground stores and ancient maps of places beyond the wastelands. Each discovery was small. Each victory was hard-won. But together they built the start of a new life. A place not just to survive, but to live. That night, under a blanket of stars far brighter than anything the city had ever shown, they made a small fire. Jason sat close, to the flames, feeling their warmth on his face. Lyra, Celine, and Vera sat beside him, talking softly in their own language, laughing quietly in a way that filled the night with music. Jason leaned back and looked up at the endless sky. So many stars. So many worlds out there, he didn't know what the future would bring. Maybe more hunters. Maybe greater dangers. Maybe harder choices. But he knew one thing with unshakable certainty. He would face it all. With them. Because true strength wasn't about power. It wasn't about weapons or armies. It was about standing together even when everything else falls apart. It was about hope. Stubborn, wild, and unbreakable. It was about never hiding again. And as Jason closed his eyes under the bright stars, he smiled. Tomorrow would be a new adventure, and this time, he would not run from it. He would run toward it, with family at his side, with freedom in his heart, with the spirit of survival burning brighter than any star above.